When you're working in a cell culture lab, it's easy to get carried away by all the fun you're having.
But be aware, if you aren't careful, your beautiful clean cells can look like this.
So listen up, friends. Let's talk about sterile technique.
Alright, first things first, let's get some gloves. Typically you want to get the ones that kind of fit your hand, you know. These ones particularly, they fit me just well, so we'll go with those.
Whenever you're opening or closing the sterile hood, it's important to remember to sterilize before beginning your work. First, you have to spray your hands off. Then, you should turn the fan on. Then the light. Only then can you raise the glass window up to this point. Now it's important to clean out the sterile hood before you begin your work, because you never know what kind of dirty person was in there before you. So remember to spray all on the surfaces. And then wipe from the back to the front. The back to the front.
Second thing, going into the hood, your best friend, ethanol. So, you want to spray your hands, just a little bit's enough, you know, spray a little bit too much on that one. You want to rub your hands really well to make sure. So, whatever you bring in the hood, if it's sterile, you want to unwrap it underneath there. But if it's not sterile like this, you want to spray it down with ethanol. So we're going to spray it, rub down, and then you can bring it in the hood. Yeah, come over here real quick. You want to keep it somewhat farther in, a couple inches, at least 3 to 4 inches past the little ventilation grate.
So this is how you sterilely pipette stuff into flasks. So first step is you want to loosen the lids a little bit, because while you're pipetting, you don't want to have to like try to loosen the lids and hold the pipette and try not to hit anything at the same time. So you're going to loosen the lids of everything you're going to be pipetting into and from. So this is my sterile media here that I'm loosening the lid of. I don't want to loosen it too much though, because I don't want to let bad stuff in. Okay, so all the lids are loosened. So I'm going to put 10 milliliters of that into each one of these flasks here. So first, I'm going to come up here, I'm going to grab a 10 milliliter pipette.
And as you can tell, they're individually marked. We got 1, 2, 5, 10, and 25.
Right. So first, you're going to take the end that's not the tip, the butt end of it, I guess you could say.
The one with the cotton?
The one with the cotton, that's the end. Good. Okay, and then you're going to just rip it at that end. You're going to take your pipetter and you're going to stick it on. Now make sure that you don't touch it with your hands at all.
Touch what?
Touch the pipette. You don't want to touch the pipette with your hands.
Gotcha.
Alright, so here I'm going to come in here. I'm going to, without touching the sides of anything, I'm going to put the cap down, face down. And then I'm going to go ahead and pipette up 10 milliliters of my supplemented media. Okay, put the cap back on, come over here, loosen this cap off all the way, put it flat without touching anything, pipette my media into the flask. Put the cap back on. This time I'm going to put this cap on all the way because I don't need it anymore right now. Push it off to the side, put your pipette back, throw it away.
It's also important to remain sterile when you are putting things into the incubator or taking them out. So, gotta make sure, spray your gloves, get them nice and clean, open the door, and then take out the items that you need. When you're putting things back in the incubator, you want to make sure that you sterilize them well. So spray them, rub-a-dub-dub, place it back in the incubator. It's important to remember that when working in a lab setting, if you have long hair, you should tie it back because you don't want it to get into any chemicals or bring any dust or bugs from outside into the lab. If you do that, things could get pretty nasty.
I whip my hair back and forth, I whip my hair back and forth, I whip my hair back and forth, I whip my hair back.
Although it's really fun to talk to your fellow BMEs, it's important to remember that contaminants can get into your cell culture if you talk a lot around the hood. Yeah, and then I was like, Dan, what the heck? I wanted to do the sterile hood video, and he was like, no, that's okay, I already did it.
Oh my
And so
gosh.
I was just like,
That's
"Dan,
ridiculous.
what the
Oh my
heck?"
gosh. That's
Right?
ridiculous. I
You
don't
should-
like Dan and Matt at
oh
all.
my
They're
goodness.
terrible. They're terrible
They're the
people,
worst
and I don't
roommates
like to
ever.
work with them.
I wish they
It's
would just
difficult.
leave.
They're difficult, and they smell
Yeah.
bad, and they never do sterile technique right.
yeah.
Did you hear? They had a
Oh
fungus.
my gosh.
They had a
He
fungus
did.
in their.
I heard
yep,
that. Emily
yep.
was so
They had
mad.
a fungus
Oh,
in their
dude.
culture.
It was
Well, who
bad.
are they?
And if you don't follow proper sterile technique under the hood, this is what happens.
It's also important to realize that when you're working in the lab, you don't want to go too slowly, otherwise your things may get contaminated. And many other bad things can occur. It's also important, though, to not work too quickly or recklessly, as you could damage or hurt your cells or yourself.
Oh my gosh! I forgot my cells.
So, in order to maintain good lab technique, you should be deliberate and quick, but not too slow.
Whenever you're done with your experiment and you're ready to close up shop, it's important to remember to keep sterile technique. First, what you need to do is remove everything from the sterile hood and place it somewhere else. Then, just to make sure that you're not that dirty person who keeps it dirty whenever someone's trying to do their experiment, you need to clean out the sterile hood before you leave. So, spray it all again, and wipe down the surfaces again with a chem wipe. From back to front. No matter if you're in a lab setting or not, it's important to remember to wash your hands. You don't want any of those little nasties getting into your food. So remember to wash your hands with warm water and soap, especially back down. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me? Oh, always remember to dry those hands off. Don't want anything slipping around.
I say, please in my hood.